Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Strong Stoic Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Tumblin. Complaining. We all do it. Probably a bit too much. But we don't like hearing other people do it. Isn't that interesting? Well, it's easy, for one. We simply need to just vent our problems, and we feel better. Or do we? Do we actually feel better? There's also a thin line between complaining and simply stating the problem out loud so we can fix it. We do, after all, need to acknowledge and accept that there is a problem before we have any chance of coming up with a solution. So, is complaining universally bad? And where is that line between complaining and problem solving? Also, I want to mention that this podcast idea came from the Telegram group chat. So, go there, because that's where I'm going to engage with my audience. If you have any suggestions for podcast episodes, topics that you'd like covered, that's the place to do it. Hop on Telegram. This podcast is part of the Walled Garden Podcast Network, which is a bunch of podcasts by contributors of the Walled Garden Philosophical Society. Wow, I butchered that. I don't know what I said there. Philosophical Society is what I was trying to say. Anyways, I am a founding member and a director, contributor, mentor, and philosopher there because I align so much with their mission. People that are getting involved in there are top notch, if I do say so myself. Please check out thewallgarden.com for more information, and also check out the free events that we hold every Thursday. There is going to be a paid service that we're working on getting up and running. More on that coming soon. But the meetups on Thursdays, and sometimes they're at different times as well, but they're always going to be free. Also, consider checking out my Patreon if you want to support me there. Big thanks to everyone on there supporting me. Financial support is not expected, but it is very much appreciated. Also, as I mentioned earlier, consider joining the Telegram group chat, because guess what? This podcast episode idea came from that. So if you want to influence the podcast in any way, that's the place to do it. And also, my articles are on Medium and the Stoic Gym. What is complaining? Well, I'm going to give you the Oxford Dictionary definition right here. It is, and I quote, the expression of dissatisfaction or annoyance about something. End quote. Complaining about the weather is probably one of the most common, right? In the summer, people say, God, it's way too hot. And in the winter, they say, geez, it's way too cold. You know, what's interesting, though, is that you seem to be able to get away with saying that once. Like if you're walking outside with a friend, let's say you're walking outside and it's cold out. It's a Canadian winter, the worst kind. You say, damn, John, it's cold out today. Yep. John will probably say, yeah, it's supposed to get down to minus 25 Celsius for my American friends. And that's fine. Nobody cares. You can say it once and nobody cares. It's kind of part of the conversation, right? However, if you continue to bring up how cold it is, it starts to become annoying in and of itself. And that's really when it crosses the line into complaining. Oddly, complaining is the expression of dissatisfaction or annoyance about something, as I mentioned above. But if you complain, you end up being very annoying yourself. You end up dissatisfying everyone around you. But why isn't that first statement considered complaining? If you were to just say it once, God, it's cold today. Most people aren't really bothered by it. It's really interesting, isn't it? You can say it once, but if you say it over and over again, you keep talking about, God, it's so cold today. Geez, John, you feel how cold it is? Oh, I'm so cold. If they keep saying that, it gets really annoying, and it starts to give the vibes of complaining. Well, the reason I think is because there's some benefit in accepting and agreeing upon what the suffering of life is. When someone says, it's cold out today, you feel a little bit better because you too are probably cold and it's justifying your suffering. And what that does is it makes the suffering go from something that's individualistic to a joined suffering, a communal suffering. Now you're cold together. So it brings the suffering from an individual thing into a shared thing. And that seems to make things a little better, right? It seems to make things a little bit easier when we have to share, when we share the load as opposed to taking it on just ourselves. It's like that line from the song Piano Man by God, I'm drawing a blank on that, but he's very popular. I feel really stupid right now. But anyways, the quote from Piano Man is, "They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone." Now, at the extreme, this is what talking about death is like, right? If we all accept and talk about death, we recognize that we're not so alone. But it also takes death out of the shadows, which is sort of a play on words, I suppose. When things aren't spoken of, they become taboo. And that's a real problem when you're dealing with something as real as death, because no matter how taboo you think it is, it's coming. So there's real benefits to acknowledging shared suffering and discussing it. But if it's done too much, it enters the realm of complaining, at least in my estimation. So you can get away with saying it. But once we all agree that, we're all suffering together, and if you continue to complain after that, it seems to be a bit too much. But why is complaining not a good thing? We all know it's annoying if you're not the one doing it. So, I'm sure we can all think of that person, right, that just complains way too much. They're not pleasant to be around because all they want to do is complain. It's like, yeah, we get it, man. Life sucks and we're all going to die. But come on, let's just finish this card game and have a bit of fun, right? The biggest reason is probably because, complaining doesn't do anything. Like when you complain about something over and over and over again, you're really just stating the problem over and over and over again. There's nothing wrong with stating a problem, by the way. Again, that's the only way that you can fix it, by initially recognizing that it is a problem and making a plan and then fixing it. But once you recognize the problem, you need to make a plan to correct it, or simply accept that it can't be fixed. Not all problems can be fixed. If it is within your control to fix, then you need to make a plan and then implement the plan. Here's a quick example. Damn, John, the weather's cold. Well, can you change the weather? No, you can't change the temperature. Can you change how you deal with it? Yes. You can wear warmer clothes up to a certain extent. I was in a place so cold once that I bought like $40 gloves, and they weren't enough. Like, these were like the warmest clothes I've ever had, but in this freezing minus 40 degrees Celsius weather, they weren't enough. But most of the time, they helped. They helped the suffering. So you can always wear warmer clothes up to a certain extent, right? So then you actually have to wear more clothes. If you have a warm jacket in your car and you're out walking around and you're complaining about the cold, it's kind of dumb, isn't it? Because, you have that jacket sitting in your car. You better put that thing on. You can't not implement the solution and then continue complaining. That doesn't work. That's what complainers do. Complainers get caught in the cycle of recognizing the problem, and then they never move on to accepting the problem and or fixing the problem. In that example above, you have to accept some of the problem, that you can't change the temperature and the weather. At the same time, you're not powerless because you can wear warmer clothes. So that's very beneficial. It's very helpful to know. So the biggest reason why complaining isn't good is that either you're complaining about a problem that can't be fixed, and hence why the hell are you complaining about it, or you're complaining about a problem that can be fixed and you're not doing anything about it. There's a lyric from the Eagles. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key. But what about complaining to yourself? Because, you might be able to justify this and make the argument that, if I just complain to myself, no one else is listening, then I'm not annoying anyone, so what's the harm? This is actually very short-sighted because this perspective misses the notion that when you complain, you are not in a positive and pleasant mindset. Again, you're either complaining about something you can't change or complaining about something you could change but are not. Marcus Aurelius says, don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. Complaining, even to yourself, is a violation of amor fati, which means love of one's fate. It means accepting everything that comes your way. When you complain, you are not accepting everything that comes your way. And over time, that leads to bitterness and resentment, which the Stoics knew for a very long time. The Christians might say, bear your cross, stop complaining. It's not about what is around you that corrupts you. Death, cold weather, other problems, any problem. It's what's inside you. It's what you fill yourself with. Now, we can all hopefully accept up at this stage, to this point, that complaining is not good. Hopefully we can all agree on that now. But what about some practical tips? Like anything philosophy as a way of life wise, the real answer is it just takes constant self-awareness. You have to watch yourself, and you have to catch yourself if you hear yourself complaining. And then you simply need to change your perspective on it. You do that by thinking amor fati, accept everything that comes my way. And by looking at the big picture as well. Like, is this going to make my life better in 5 years, in 10 years? If I just complain about this one thing, is that going to change anything? Well, no, I'm probably just going to get into the habit of complaining about everything, and I'm going to be complaining about everything in 5 years or 10 years. Of course, if it's something that you can fix, then you need to make a plan and strategy and then fix it. Finally, I'll give you a little trick from Marcus Aurelius, the dichotomy of endurability. That's a bit of a joke. That's not what he coined this, but it is. It's a dichotomy of endurability, I suppose you could say, but I don't want to be known for coming up with that term. But anyways, there's this quote from Marcus Aurelius, and here it goes. Everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. If it's unendurable, then stop complaining. I love this, right? Because this is it. This is how you get over complaining. It's like when I'm in the gym and I feel tired and I don't want to do the next exercise, this is what I say to myself. I ask myself, can I lift the weight? Can I physically do it? No. If I can't, then it's unendurable. And well, what the hell am I complaining for? Like, I physically can't do it. But if I can do it, if the answer is yes, then just lift the damn weight. Just do it. Stop complaining. If you can do it, then just do it. If it's endurable, endure it. If it's not, then just don't. But stop complaining either way. I'm going to end with this wonderful, wonderful quote by Maya Angelou, who is an American memoirist, poet, and civil rights activist. So check her out. She's pretty cool. She's got an interesting story. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I did stumble upon this quote, which really sums up a lot of the ideas of complaining that we're talking about today. And I quote, "What you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. Don't complain." Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like this podcast episode, consider leaving a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you're new here, episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, solo reflections, and also guest episodes who are really cool as well. That's assuming I'm cool. I guess I'm cool. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube's, all the social medias. Reach out to me, join the Telegram to join the community of Strong Stoics. Not going to bug you anymore. Thanks again. Cheers. Until next time.